What's up, investors? Thank you for watching the Change Hands Crypto Podcast. In the Subsocial white paper, they pose a very good question. If we could do it all over again, would we choose differently? And it sounds dramatic, but of course we're talking about social media and Web2 using centralized servers and what it actually costs and how value is extracted for using free products. We pay with our time and our data, and that's a topic that we talked about quite a bit on this channel. And it's one of the reasons that I'm so bullish on the Polkadot ecosystem and its ideology and how it could bring ideas to life. Like the question that I opened this segment with, we get to revisit that. Subsocial is a decentralized protocol for social networks and marketplaces with key features like censorship resistance, IPFS file storage, and censorship and decentralized governance. Remember, this is not financial advice. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this and share this content to spread the information. Also, make sure you like this video to extend its reach. I'm honored and thank you so much. I'll be joined by Zachary Edwards, who is the content lead for Subsocial. Thank you for joining us, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Could we start with just maybe for people who aren't necessarily familiar with how Web2 social networks actually work and how value is extracted from using free products? Could we start with that, identify the problem, and then maybe get into Subsocial and go from there?
Yeah, so I'm not necessarily an expert on this, but it's free to sign up. So you have to make an account, and then you use the platform, and they track all this data about your usage of the platform, things that you do like, what you comment on, all this, and they feed that into an algorithm, which then determines what content they show to you, because they don't show you all the content on there. And they usually tend to use that to show you more things that will keep you engaged, so you use the platform more. But those usually end up being things that make you upset or angry or something like that. It's not stuff that makes you really happy a lot of the times. And they take your data and they either just sell that to third parties that do something with it without our consent for the most part, and they don't give us any of the money from it, or they just show a bunch of advertisements and they also don't share the revenue from that. On top of that, you can get banned for pretty much anything. Usually it's for breaking their guidelines, but they set the guidelines. We can't do anything about it. It's like totally centralized.
Correct. And so what is Subsocial, and what problems does it address?
So we refer to Subsocial as a social networking platform, as opposed to just a social network. You can pretty much make your own social networks. It's really customizable. So we have what are called spaces, which are basically the core of Subsocial. So all the content lives in spaces. Like when you make a post, it has to go into a space, and then you can like, downvote, comment, share posts, etc. As normal. But each person can make a space or as many as they want. And if you own a space, obviously you can moderate within that. So if someone's trolling you, you can kick them. But there's no one that can kick you off the platform. So if you get kicked out of someone else's space, you can just go make your own. So it's moderation as opposed to censorship. And then it's really customizable. So with like Web2 social networks, you have the front end like the website, and you have the back end, which is their servers, databases, all that. And those two are connected, and we can't split them apart because it's centralized. But with Subsocial, the back end is the blockchain, which is totally decentralized. And then we have the front end, which is centralized. But you can just build another website if you want to connect to Subsocial. So we already have two, actually. The team built another one called Polkaverse, which basically filters out some content. So they have like a whitelist for certain spaces that are news related for the .sama ecosystem, and only content from those news those spaces shows up on Polkaverse. So we foresee in the future a lot more people will build different front ends. They might make one that looks like Instagram and only shows content with pictures, etc. One that looks like Reddit. You can do all sorts of things. So there might be some content that gets censored on one front end. But it'd be moderated on that front end really. But you could just go on another website and still find it. It would still be there on the blockchain.
Okay, well, so what you're talking about is the posts, the likes, the follows, the comments, the upvotes. So Subsocial, to clarify, is a framework or an architecture that allows social networks to be built on top of it. It's not necessarily a social network platform itself. So it gives us the opportunity to recreate basically any of the current social networks that we see today, and evolve into more ecosystem, social tokens, basically anything that we could build a community around. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So we are planning to add social tokens at some point to spaces. Yeah, you can pretty much think of it as like the underlying architecture. It's kind of in the name, sub, like it's under the social networks, even though the sub came from substrate. But it's kind of like a relay chain in a sense for social networks, if you think of it that way.
Okay, so it's like a relay chain that has access to the Polkadot and Kusama relay chain, which is a really powerful concept. I'm a big fan of Polkadot, which is kind of how I found out about Subsocial and kind of how I found you on to invite you on the channel. In terms of interoperability, now you mentioned that it was built with Substrate. Now do you think that we haven't seen a successful decentralized, crypto-based social networking platform or social media platform yet because there's no real interoperability yet? Is that the reason? That's what I kind of attribute it to. I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
I mean, the first thing I would go to was Ethereum has the most users by far, but no one's going to use a social network when it costs $50 to post something. But I do think the interoperability is important, especially like we're going to be developing smart contracts, so you'll be able to do lots of stuff. But it may be a while. We don't have any plans at the moment to bid for a parachain slot because the parachain block times are 12 seconds at the moment. And I think there's less time for extrinsics in each of those blocks than on a standalone chain too. So, 12 seconds for one block as a parachain or as a standalone chain like we are right now, we can have 2 blocks in that time with more extrinsics. So I think it's something like 5 to 10 times more extrinsics fit in 12 seconds as a standalone chain versus a parachain right now. So it's much better user experience where things get done faster. And you don't want to wait 12 seconds on a social website.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Now you're saying that Subsocial has no plans at the moment to be involved in the parachain auctions on Kusama or Polkadot?
So we are possibly wanting to do it in the future. Parity has said that they will be lowering the block times. So that's something we'll monitor. But as of right now, we don't have any plans, but we are looking at it for the future.
Wow, okay, so this is just part of the Polkadot ecosystem because it's based in Substrate. Also, too, there's a relationship with Parity, which is one of Gavin Wood's companies. A Web3 grant was granted to Subsocial. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've had 2 so far.
Two Web3 grants. So Parity is behind this project, and yeah, that's the one. That's one thing. Like, I'm not really sure like how that works. When you just said that you wouldn't be part of the the parachain auctions, like I'm thinking like the Polkadot ecosystem, everything would be a parachain, but I guess that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, I say it's part of the Substrate ecosystem.
Substrate ecosystem.
Polkadot ecosystem.
All right. Yeah, that's
every substrate chain shows up in the Polkadot.js wallet, even if they're not connected to Kusama or Polkadot.
okay. Subsocial uses a term quite a bit. It pops up on the website. It popped up in the white paper a couple times. Social finance. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and maybe explain to us what social finance is?
Yeah, so it's sort of a new thing. If you think back to like when Facebook was created, people are like, I don't want to share all this information about what I did for the weekend. Like, that's weird. And like, this will never succeed. But then people slowly started doing it, and we do it all the time, and it's no big deal. And we think the same thing will apply to money. Like blockchains are totally open. So we built another tool called SubID. That's also the URL, just sub.id. And so you can go on there. You can do it for your accounts or anyone else if you have their address. You can put in an address for any of their substrate chain accounts. So substrate, you have like a base substrate address, and then your addresses for all the different chains are derived off of that. So we're able to take any of those addresses and derive all the rest of them. So you can give someone your Polkadot address and they can get your Kusama, Kura, etc. And so, if you have one address to someone, you can basically look up how many tokens they have on all these different chains, see how much money they have, which a lot of people are like, this is weird, man. But I mean, the information's already out there. So we think going forward that sort of stigma around people's like net worth being out in the open like that will kind of go away. So that's one thing with social finance. But then also we'll be adding smart contract integration. So things like social tokens, and we plan to have some DAO integration with Subsocial. So it's like the merging of social media with decentralized finance.
Wonderful. Founder of Subsocial joined the call a little bit later. We weren't sure if he was going to join. He was just joined by Alex Siman. Zach was just telling us a little bit about social finance. You just popped in, and I know you have short, limited amount of time. So I wanted to get you in the call right away. Good morning, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to join interesting podcasts and streams.
Yes. So far, we were just comparing a little bit, Web2, centralized servers, social networks to Web3 and the possibilities there. We went over like what Subsocial was already and kind of we got into social finance a little bit. I'll kick the next question to you, Alex, because I know you have some limited time. And my question is, what exactly has to happen? Or let me rephrase that. What does a roadmap look like for multiple social networks and marketplaces on Subsocial? Is that, I know there's things being worked on now, but in terms of a time, like, are we a year away? Are we 6 months away? A little further, or just kind of innovating and seeing where it goes?
Sure. So the top priority thing for us right now that we are working on and going towards is launch of Mainnet. So this is a super priority task for us right now, and most of the team members are working in this direction. And it includes revisiting all our modules that we created for Substrate, for social networking, verifying that all validators can support the network. And right now, we already launched so-called pre-mainnet chain, and we have more than 200 validators of different level experience validating this pre-mainnet chain. Also, we are checking all the tests and functionality, ensuring that it will work after migration of data. So the goal is that we will take snapshot of the latest data of this current beta net that we have working for a year already. and we will migrate this latest state. It will be like a genesis state for the new mainnet. So basically, it will be near the same data in storage, and plus all our existing modules that we created, plus some more modules like console, treasury, staking validators that people can see in Kusama or Polkadot. So this is top priority. Second thing, as it goes in parallel, we have a couple of people working on development of a mobile app. It's a cross-platform mobile application, and we already have versions that works in read-only mode. So it means that it can show and display information from blockchain and IPFS. So you can consider it like a kind of crypto magazine. .summer news. This is how we call it. And currently we are working on additional next phase of functionality that is related to management of current user, like import account, create account, sign transactions, and so on and so forth. So this is our second priority. It's already in works since summer. Next thing for us that we see as a priority is releasing several monetization features. Some of them are also in works, like tipping. And the next one that is very good and interesting, it's social tokens. So every account or space will be able to optionally create a token for the community, and then people of this community will be able to purchase these tokens if they consider this creator, owner of this account or space as interesting and potentially growing follower base and so on and so forth. Yeah.
I'm sorry, continue.
These are three top priority things for us. Of course, we have tons of other interesting tasks, and I'm not sure if Zach already mentioned, but we also have a sub-product. It's called sub.id. This is the name and URL of this tool. So you can compare it to something that is familiar to Ethereum users. It's Zapier, Zerion, the bank, and some other similar products I saw, like what's called? I saw something similar in other chains as well. So yeah, what you can do on sub.id, you can see accounts, the information like on-chain data, name and email, Twitter handle, etc., plus all the balances across recognized parachains, relay chains, and standalone chains, including Sora, Centrifuge, Edgeware. I mean, it's a standalone chains. Also, you can see your contributions to crowd loan candidates and winners. Also, you can see aggregated NFTs across Remark, protocol, Singular, and unique testnet. Also, we're going to add balances of recognized tokens from StateMine. For example, we have in plans adding support of Remark token and Chaos DAO, Bali Lego, and something else. Yeah, but yeah, we will manage the list of tokens, I guess, with community. So list of supported tokens from StateMine will be extended in the future.
Very interesting, and that's kind of what you're talking about a little bit, but is what's so interesting about Subsocial and the possibilities that it brings. I'm talking a little bit. I wanted to talk a little bit about how Subsocial can unlock new and creative ways to monetize content. There was a couple of things that really interested me. At first, I wasn't sure, but then after I started to think about it and where it could go, I mean, I got really excited about it. And one way specifically was the ability to rent and sell your posts or your content. And there's a bunch. Could you talk a little bit about some ways a creator or a creative person can monetize their content with Subsocial in the future?
Yeah, maybe Zach would love to answer this one.
Zachary?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more esoteric monetization methods. I think it's a little out there, so it'll take a little bit to wrap your head around. Obviously, like the easiest example would be, someone writes a post and they rent it out to a blog or something that has a lot of traffic but needs more content. So it's kind of crowdsourcing writers, and then the blog wouldn't have to pay the writers directly. It would just come from people tipping that post that the blog is renting. And like the tips could be split up between the blog and the author there. Or, you could even extend it to the future. We're planning to have more heavy NFT integration. I'm not sure if NFT marketplaces are planning to rent stuff out, but this is thinking more on like the far future when we have like 3D metaverse. If you have a motorcycle NFT or something that you made and you put it on Subsocial, you'd be able to rent that out to someone for the afternoon if they want to go ride around on it. Right. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities, and I don't think we can imagine what most of them are right now. But NFT is basically ownership of something, so it's just renting out something you own for a certain amount of time, and you get paid for it.
Well, here's something that I was really fascinated by, and I learned when I was reading through the white paper, was that the creator is not necessarily tied to the native chain. The smart contracts could have multi-function, right? So there could be multiple owners of the content. They could be on multiple platforms. Is that also, one, is that, did I interpret that correctly? And can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, multiple people can own it. We are planning to have where multiple people can own a space, sort of like a DAO. Or you could have
what is interesting is that on Substrate, any account can be as a singular account, or it could be a multi-sig account. So multi-sig and normal account are looking similarly. So such as in our case, space and posts are owned by account, Substrate account. There could be a multi-sig behind that account. So this is as simple as this.
Very nice. So we're not going to.
What is interesting about monetization is that you're asking like what kind of types of monetization we're going to release, and of course we are working on some of them. And the thing is here that it's very good to have native optimized, performance optimized monetizations built into protocol. But as lots of people see from Ethereum experience is that smart contracts allows us to be as creative as we can only imagine. And this is the way to go. I believe that from one side, we're going to provide some built-in monetization methods, but the big rise of creativity should be in smart contracts, because in only this way people can be creative. Like even look at Patreon, YouTube, or other platforms. They're adding some monetization from time to time, like every 2 years they add something, and you can see like from 2 to 4 different monetizations. But 4, it's so limited. It's a very small number. And just look at Ethereum; they have ever growing and growing different ways to make money, to earn rewards, reward others, and monetize owner commission when you resell NFT. You can be so creative on corporation-owned platforms like YouTube, because everything should go through the headquarters, stakeholders, and so on and so forth. And I can hardly imagine them having like 10 or 20 monetizations in even 5 years. I don't think that it will be possible. But like on protocols as ours that are built on blockchain, by exposing smart contracts to community, I think we can have like dozen of alternative methods in a couple of years.
Yeah, that's incredibly fascinating. And all right, so we go forward. Obviously, I mean, I'm shocked by it, but it doesn't seem like people really care. I mean, we know now what Facebook does, right? We know nobody cares. Seems
They
like
don't care. Bro,
they're
they
just
don't care. Even builders of Web3, this is a pain point for me. They don't really care.
right. And why
When
why do you think that is? And what's going to happen? Like,
I
when
know
is it?
what it is, what is going on, and this is even me. I can honestly sometimes look at myself, like for example, why I'm not using like it's social every day, and because we cannot disagree that today's Web2 projects, products like Twitter, Facebook, Discord, whatever, they're very, very good in user experience. They spend decades on polishing this, and we cannot cancel this. I mean, not agree with this. I totally appreciate and respect their achievements in user experience, and we at Subsocial always looking at the best solutions and try to apply to our use case and situation by looking at some differences in blockchain. So this is for sure. And people used to good, comfortable user experience. They don't don't need to press any confirmation buttons every time they send something. They don't need to pay for anything, and they understand that they are paying for this free functionality with their data. So actually, to be honest, I'm not crazy, but I totally believe that, like, think about it philosophically, that we gave to Facebook and Twitter our digital souls, our profiles. It's our digital soul, and they are masters, and we are slaves. I'm totally sure in this, because, like, for example, we provided information to Twitter, and like back then, and now today I want to get access to API to work with my information, with my followers, and they don't give me this access. I asked from several of my accounts, and they rejected, and they say, like, you cannot reapply, you cannot I don't know what is the word. This is like object and something like that. So
Right,
they
right.
reject it and go. That's it. And this is crazy. Like, what's going on? You have my information. You have my followers. Is my follower base. It's my digital value of my persona, right? And they don't give access to it.
Yeah, it's very odd, and that's the thing. Like, culturally, and it seems like we don't. I mean, we don't. I mean, as a whole, we don't care. Like, we just continue to use these products, continue to allow this to go on. And I think, having an alternative, something like Subsocial and what's going to be built on it, is incredibly powerful, and and it's needed. It's needed because I don't think people understand exactly, like, how predictive analytics and this kind of stuff, it keeps you stuck, right? You're paying with your time, right? Like, you open Facebook, the app is keeping you there, right? Like, Zachary touched on it earlier in the episode. He talked about, they're showing you stuff that's going to make you emotional and keep you engaged. And that's just counterproductive, right? For everyone, because now you have a bunch of citizens that aren't spending their time wisely, and that's not good. So Subsocial is great for that, to be able to monetize your creativity, while also, I really appreciated in the white paper they talked about, while extracting the least amount of value from the users as possible.
Yeah, so but Facebook and Twitter, they did pretty good job, but to increase their profits, they needed to find tricky ways to get more and more users, and try them to spend as much as possible time. And this is ridiculous and so bad. Like, I remember I watched this Social Dilemma movie. It's a very great movie. I enjoyed it a lot. And they raised this questions that, like, compare Google and Facebook. Google's goal is to make us spend as less as possible time. I mean, on Google search. On YouTube, no, it's opposite.
Right.
On Google search, it's very interesting that they are interested us finding as less as possible. Go find and read that article or product or whatever you're looking for, right? And this is very great. So it's optimized for us to save our time. Whereas on Facebook, they want us to suck in to spend like third part of a day, like
Right.
fucking Facebook. Sorry, but again, I believe they started with good intents, like provide very interesting, innovative tools to people to reconnect, and they did this, and then they found that they can make money, and they could not resist to it. This is how I think. And one of the biggest issues here, I believe, is that again, most of Web2 products, their revenue is based on advertisement, and they are all, one of the most important goals is make us use their official products. That's why they cannot afford themselves to allow community to create alternatives that could be competitive, because if you will give all the API features to community obviously will create something without that stupid advertisement. It's for sure. And they see it and they know it. And that's why you kind of see that there is API, but it's so limited in features, in rate limiting, and etc. For example, take Reddit. I recently wanted to integrate with Reddit API. And what was surprised when I found that like they have tons of features, functions on this Reddit API, but not such feature as get members of Reddit.
Right.
They're scared. They don't want to share. That's it.
Right. Hey, and I'd like to get both of your perspectives on this. So if I don't, Alex, if you would like to start, and then maybe Zach, I'd like to get your input on this as well. Is okay. So there's obviously like they're big it's big tech, right? Twitter, Facebook, Google, etc. I don't think that they're going to necessarily go anywhere, right? But I do think that other stuff is going to come, right? Something on Subsocial or something like it, just speculating. But this is why. But do you think that something like Twitter, let's say, do you expect them to be, a DAO one day, or Facebook to be a DAO one day? Or do you think we'll just have the dichotomy of, and the market will choose, centralized servers versus decentralized protocols?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you asked. Maybe Zach understands more.
Yeah.
How do you believe big tech will proceed? Do you think that it's going to be like two types, centralized servers? Will Twitter, Facebook, YouTube continue on, or do you expect them to be DAOs at some point?
I was asking like, will there be DAO on Twitter or? Sorry, I don't. Yes.
Do you understand, Zach?
Yeah, I think it's. I would say I have less hope for Facebook, but I think it might end up happening with Twitter. Jack Dorsey's at the moment he's pretty much just Bitcoin, but he may wake up at some point. But even then, even if they do, I think it would be really hard for them to transition. They would have to completely restructure and reorganize everything.
It was built on centralized architecture, and this is nothing wrong with this. I mean, as I said, I totally even today, I totally respect Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff. But they're poisoned with their own greatness, and possibilities.
Yes. But do you think they go away at some point? That's my question. That's really what I'm asking. I wanted you to elaborate. Do you think at some point they go away?
They're too big to change, I think. Like again, look at Ethereum. It's too big to change. It's easier to just spend a couple of years or 3 years and to build Polkadot.
Right.
Do you see where I'm going? I mean, sometimes when something is too big, it's hard to change the direction. They can just if you go like this, you cannot go like totally this direction if you're super big, like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. But if you're somewhat smaller, you can. If you're big, you can a little bit change direction, but not completely. And this is like what happened with Twitter. only recently I saw they added tipping in Bitcoin, and it's great. Totally appreciate, cool, nice. But again, who made the decision? Was it community? Everything should go through like main guys and Jack Dorsey, and who knows who is also responsible for that. It's not community driven. I mean, it's community suggests like, please add tips, add NFT, make NFT as avatar, please Jack Dorsey, dear God, like, and then okay, let's do it like
Right.
after 2 years, something like that. But with Subsocial, people can even not ask us, like just they can go create alternative and show this. We just created it last night. That's it.
Right. So, Zachary, do you mind? Like, what do you think happens to something like Twitter? They just continue on, and they'll just be the two.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, what comes to mind was MySpace back in the day, and then Facebook basically killed them. But that's like two centralized services competing, and one was just better than the other. Versus, like, that comparison doesn't really hold up here, because this is decentralized versus that being centralized. I mean, I could definitely see it continuing, because there will be people that don't want to pay regardless, and there's a lot of people that don't care that their data is being sold and all that, and they don't want to use, and the better user experience, bigger network effects already. I mean, 10, 15 years down the line, I have no idea, but I think within the next 5 years, I don't think Twitter's going anywhere.
Right. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think that we need to actually compete, to be honest. I mean, maybe a couple years ago I thought like, yeah, it's like competitors, but now I think it's not. Okay. It's like compare, I don't know, car to horse. Totally different tools.
Right.
So horses today is for pleasure. It's like you go to I don't know, forest or whatever. You ride that horse, and car just to get fast in some from A to B. And here it's something like different. Maybe the closest analogy would be compare NFT marketplaces to, let's say, Behance and Dribble. I mean, these super popular sites for designers. They upload their works, and other people likes. Everyone is happy. Everything is good. But if you look at OpenSea, it has tons of design works, and they are selling it through NFTs. And I don't know, maybe I don't follow it too much enough, but I don't see any issues with Dribble or Behance. I even can check the traffic right now. Behance, let's see what they have.
Yes. So, Alex, you joined the call late, but I wanted to get, and I like to get a feel. Where did this idea come from? And give us a little bit about your background prior to Subsocial and what led you here.
Yeah, I'm a professional software developer, and I got my master's degree in computer science in 2008, and since that time I worked every time on development of web applications like backends, front ends. I was in love with user experience. However, I was not user UI designer ever, and I always was enjoying reading and learning about startups, and all this passion about creating something was always in me. And I tried a few times to create something that is like, for example, at some day I created something very simple, and that could be like kind of Shopify. So it was like platform of multi-shop platform. So you could go create a shop, list your products, and accept orders from people. Yeah, it didn't have payment methods because it was, I guess, 2008. It was not so popular yet in Eastern Europe. It was my experience, and there was no such supportive community surrounding me about startups. I was just reading what's happening in San Francisco, for example, and I was like, oh my God, this is somewhere on another planet, maybe. And then I started to look at blockchains and Ethereum smart contracts in 2017. Firstly, I learned how to program smart contracts and programmed them for about 1 year. And then I learned about all the limitations and weakness, that are not so flexible and fast in execution, smart contracts on Ethereum. So I started to look for different blockchain frameworks. I found Tendermint from Cosmos, and I was not very happy at the time in 2018. And then in 2018, at the beginning, I found Substrate, and I watched presentation of Gavin Wood at Web3 Summit, and his friend brought a packaged MacBook Pro, and Gavin Wood in 30 minutes created a blockchain based on Substrate. I thought like, oh my God, this is what we really need, what I want to work with. And at that point, I understood that we are somewhere close to being able to create competitive products to Web 2.0. And this is where my journey started with Subsocial in 2018. I started experimenting by trying to create something like a blogging platform on Substrate. It was relatively fast and easy to achieve. And then I applied for grants from Web3 Foundation, technical grants, and since that time we successfully delivered 2 technical grants from Web3 Foundation, and most of this work is in use on Subsocial blockchain or web app.
Excellent. And we talked a little bit about the relationship with Parity and Substrate. Why did you decide to build Subsocial with Substrate?
Because at the beginning of 2019, it was the only blockchain framework that has this feature of upgradability. So with Substrate, you don't need to create forks of your blockchain, but you just can upload new code for your blockchain, and either through admin or through voting, if it accepted, on the next block, everything will be processed by this new version of your blockchain runtime. So this is super killer feature. Plus, I saw how Parity and the employees are supportive in chats. On at that moment, it was called Riot. So there is a decentralized protocol for messaging called Matrix, and it has UI called Element. Today it's called Element. Back then it was Riot. And Parity is sitting in this Element and answering all the questions, all the possible questions about Substrate. It was very, very good support. And I remember I was kind of shocked when I sent some bugs in Substrate that like, guys, I'm quite new here. I'm not sure if it's bug or it's supposed to be like that. Maybe check. And I sent a link to this bug, and like 5 minutes later, Gavin Wood came and like, okay, we will check it. And like 10 minutes later, yeah, we fixed it. I thought like, what? Gavin Wood answering me and then saying like, replying, we fix it. I thought I need to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they invited me to conferences in 2018. I visited Berlin a few times. I was at 2 conferences of Sub-Zero conference in April of 2019 and in December. It was very welcoming community.
Wow, it's a great background. So you said you have a master's in computer science. Where did you go? Or where did you attend?
Yeah, in Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yeah,
I studied system programming, so I programmed assembler and Linux and Microsoft Windows. Yeah, but after finishing university, I started to work more on web applications because I saw this huge potential.
Right. Okay. And you were right. You know what, guys? That's all the questions that I have. I'd like to give both of you guys a minute though to mention anything you guys want to talk about, or your social medias, websites, anything upcoming, for Subsocial or personally. Zach, you could start, and then Alex, you could go right after.
Yeah, you can find all of our links if you go to subsocial.network/links. We have a link tree set up. We've recently launched our ambassador program as well. That's exciting.
Ambassador. Can I tell me a little bit about the ambassador program, if you don't mind, if you still have a couple minutes?
Yeah,
great.
so we tried to gamify it about as much as possible. So it's called the Spacers program, named after spaces on Subsocial, sort of like a space theme,
Mhm.
So the spacers they do is called missions, which can be various things, translating documents, making memes, etc. They get XP for that, and they can rank up with the XP, get additional perks for their rank. And then we have seasons, currently planning to be about every 4 weeks. And so every season we'll take the amount of XP they gained during that season. And based on that, we give them a reward multiplier, which we apply to the XP gain. And that's their reward balance. And then we pay that out with tokens at I think it's 100 to 1 ratio at the moment. So it's a decent way for some, the community supporters to get some more tokens, help with our more even token distribution, and get some decentralized marketing, get the community really engaged.
Where can we find that again?
If you go to subsocial.network/links, there should be a link on there. If not, if you go join our Discord, we have a channel. It's called the Spacers Fleet, and there's a pinned message in there with some information about it.
Yeah.
Or if you check our blog that's on Subsocial.
Okay, and I'll get a link in the description. So if anybody watches this video now or anytime in the future, there'll be a link in the description. And Alex, if you can just kind of follow suit, anything you want to talk about?
Thank you for this possibility. We are hiring, of course. We are looking for great talents that are not just good programmers or marketers, whatever, but they're really interested in Web3 and social networking that we are working on. So we want to see like-minded people, and sometimes I even think that maybe it's better to have less skilled people, but that are in love with what we are doing, because then you feel like you're with right people, and they obviously lots of people actually smart. I mean, there are different people in the world, but there are a lot of smart people, and sometimes not everything is given with your birth. You also can get something through the experience. And this is we have quite good people in teams that can share experience with you, and there are tons of materials on the internet. So I'm very interested in people who are interested in what we are doing, actually. And also, I would like to mention, I'm not sure if Saki mentioned before, but recently we had very successful event. It's called .sama token claim. So it's a token claim of our sub tokens for free for people from the .sama community that either exist in our snapshots dated by April 15 and May 21, or from Dotok and KSM, or the participants in successfully in crowd loan winning parachains before September 24. September 24. So so far 2.5 thousand people claimed their tokens for free, and everyone is very excited, and we're going to have at least 3 more rounds for all these eligible people that didn't have time to claim in the first round. So please join. I think we will continue having this token claim rounds till the mainnet launched, and also there will be interesting event called Sub-Zero Online soon in, I think it's October 13, 14. And I will be presenting Subsocial from a more technical point of view on October 13. So check out, I think it's subzero.parity.io, something like that.
Okay. Oh, you mentioned that you got that you were hiring. What kind of positions you said outside of developers you were hiring? So what kind of positions or what kind of people can inquire a little bit about working not only for Subsocial or to get involved in this space at all?
Yeah, so of course we are looking for programmers like
Right.
senior web developer and Rust and like DevOps, development experience, very important, very important. This is something that not so many people want to do, and not so many people actually know what is DevX. It's developer experience, and it means like it's combination of programming skills, maybe not so super high quality ones, but a person should be interested and able to write understandable tutorials, documentation, so that other developers and people that want to create based on your platform or protocol will have good, nice time to easily grasp what is happening, how to work with it, how to change, deploy something for what they're interested in. So this is very important. Like DevX, it's people who like combine copywriting skills with development skills. Also, we're interested in marketer. So this is not developer kind of position. And by marketing, I mean different directions and skills like mailing lists and developing as Subsocial on other platforms, like for example LinkedIn. Nobody is working with LinkedIn from our team today, and I see this is a little bit missed opportunity in some way. Also, we need to improve on SEO because we are content user generated site after all, and yeah, we need to improve on that. And also we're interested in collaborations with content creators like crypto artists. For example, we have very interesting plans for sub-ID where people would be able to pick up NFT for their avatar and for their banner on their profile. Something that people are asking for on Twitter for years, and we just want to give it to others. So we're interested in crypto artists that can create nice rectangular banners so that people can choose them, buy, and then put on their profiles. Because currently most of NFTs are like square shape, right? Yeah, that's it.
All right, great. Well, Zachary and Alex, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope everybody enjoyed the content. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. Remember, this is not financial advice. So please do all your own research. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.